Hey everyone, and welcome back. You ready to jump into another deep dive with us?
Always ready for a deep dive.
Well, today we're going to be tackling this document called A Case for Relocating.
Oh yeah, we read that one.
It's interesting, right? It's pretty thought-provoking. So basically what we're going to do is unpack why people are choosing to relocate these days, what countries seem to be the most popular, and what we can learn from those who've actually already done it, made the move.
Yeah, the source makes a good point right off the bat.
Yeah.
It doesn't sugarcoat anything. It actually dives right into the emotional reasons why some people just aren't happy with their home countries anymore.
Exactly. And it really hit home for me too. I was reading and nodding along thinking, yeah, I get that. Especially when they talked about high crime rates, heavy taxes, and this feeling of the government's just got too much control.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, the tax thing really gets me. It feels like we're constantly paying more but getting less in return, know?
I see where you're coming from. The source argues that it's not just about the amount of taxes we pay, but the value we're getting for that money.
Oh, yeah.
For example, they talked about how some places have terrible infrastructure, the roads are a mess, the public transport is unreliable, but property taxes are through the roof.
Oh.
So it's where's all that money going?
Right. It's like being squeezed, but you don't even get a nice glass of lemonade out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So no wonder people are looking for other options. And this source lays out a few pretty tempting ones. Like Portugal, Costa Rica, Thailand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it goes beyond just pretty pictures and tourist attractions. It really tries to get into why these places might be a good fit for someone like you. For example, Portugal has this thing called the non-habitual resident tax regime. Ever heard of that?
No, I don't think so. What's that all about?
Well, depending on what you do for a living, you could end up paying way less in taxes compared to what you're paying now. Yeah, they have a flat income tax rate of 20% for certain professions, and some foreign income is completely tax-free.
Right.
Plus, Portugal's got amazing landscapes, a really rich culture, low crime rate. All that adds up to a pretty sweet quality of life.
Okay, that sounds pretty tempting, I'm not gonna lie, especially the tax part. But what about people who aren't ready to retire yet? What does the source say about finding work in these places?
Good point. Well, for example, they talk about Costa Rica's ecotourism industry, which is huge. And their tech sector is actually growing pretty fast. So there might be some good opportunities there if you're looking to make a career change along with a lifestyle change.
Interesting.
Plus, they're really big on sustainability, which, translates into everyday life. They use a lot of renewable energy. They have protected natural areas. It's a big part of their identity.
So you're telling me I could work in tech surrounded by nature and feel good about the country's environmental policies?
Pretty much.
All right, sign me up.
Not so fast. Now, if you're more into a bustling economy and you're looking for modern conveniences, the source highlights Thailand. Got great infrastructure, a really good healthcare system, and it's a super welcoming and inclusive environment. They even specifically mention international schools, which is something to consider if you have kids.
That's a really good point. It's not just about finding a pretty place. You got to make sure it works for your whole life.
Exactly. And here's the thing. While all this sounds amazing, the source warns against making a decision based on research alone.
Yeah, you can't just go on a one-week vacation and then decide to pack up your whole life, right?
Right?
Yeah.
It's a little more complicated than that. What they really recommend is talking to people who actually live in these countries, like expat. Platforms like retireoverseasnow.org can be really helpful for that.
That makes a lot of sense. Actually having a conversation with someone who moved to Portugal, say, you could ask them anything about their experience. What's healthcare like? What was it like to adjust to a new culture?
Yeah.
The real stuff.
Exactly. The stuff you don't see in the brochures. But you got to be prepared to hear the good and the bad.
Yeah, no place is perfect, right?
Right. And the source really emphasizes the importance of hearing both sides and then comparing those expat experiences to your own life, where you live now. Are the potential benefits worth the trade-offs?
It's all about perspective, weighing what you might gain against what you might lose. And that brings us to a really interesting question that the source asks. Is your home country actually getting better, or is it getting worse?
That's a tough one.
It is. It's a tough one.
But it's a question we got to ask ourselves, right?
Yeah. The source wants us to look at the trends in our own countries. Is crime going up or down? Are taxes becoming more or less of a burden? Is the government getting more